Hi there. Welcome to Discussions with the Fascia Masters. My name is Deanna Hansen. I'm the founder of Block Therapy and Fluid Isometrics, and I am being joined by my nephew, Quinn Castellane, and my partner on this block therapy journey, and our very special guest, Gina Bria. Now, this is going to be a really interesting conversation. Gina is an anthropologist and the founder of the hydration movement, along with so many other things. So I'm just going to pass it over to you, Gina. Please introduce yourself and share everything that you're doing.
Deanna, thank you very much. I'm privileged to be here because we get to have a wonderful conversation on water. And hydration, and then fascia and movement. And these key elements coming together is why I think we're going to have such a unique conversation. So my training is as an anthropologist, a cultural anthropologist, and I spent about 25 years looking at ritual around the world. And because I had that broad scope and that broad spectrum, when I came to ask a specific question, and that question was, how do humans hydrate? What are all the various ways? I already knew how to sort of look into different communities to do comparative work. And in this particular case, I was looking at hydration, and I thought the best way to follow out the variety of ways to do it is to look at extremist environments first. So I went to look at deserts. How do desert dwellers hydrate? And why are they doing it without guzzling 8 glasses a day, which is the standard medical approach that, we're all convinced that that's the way to do it. And in that comparative work of looking at how desert dwellers all around our globe hydrate themselves, I was amazed to find out that they were not using liquid to hydrate primarily. They were using water locked inside plants already. So things like cactus, aloe, tubers under the ground, plant seeds, which release a whole gel-like protective circle around them. If you can think of chia seeds, you might know chia seeds. And these plants all had very unique properties, even though they were distributed botanically, all variations all over the globe. They all had this common quality of a more gel-like material inside of them. If you think of an aloe plant or cactus, you'll know right away what I'm talking about. There's kind of a denser, squishy, kind of jelly-like material inside of that plant. And that was so curious to me because I realized this is how they were getting to their hydration, and I wanted to know what that jelly-like material was. In that pursuit, and also for your audience in particular, I'm going to come back to that jelly-like notion inside of plants and help draw your attention to the jelly-like material that's inside our own bodies and inside our cell structure. So it turns out, because of the work of Dr. Gerald Pollack at the University of Washington, who is a water scientist who identified this jelly-like material as a literal form of concentrated water, that we actually are living inside ourselves as a jelly. We're like jellyfish. That's what we have to say in the end. So that kind of background history for you helped sort of set up the next round of conversations about what are different forms of water. And so I want to start our conversation by asking the simple question: what is water? What is water? And it's because we're so used to thinking about it, we have kind of cultural blinders on it. We think of water as liquid only, but water is not only liquid. And this is a very old and limited understanding now. We really have to move on if we're going to have a higher approach to ourselves and to health and the health of the planet ultimately too. But water has phases. We know water has other phases and forms. We already know about vapor and we know about ice, but we didn't know about this. Some people are calling it fourth phase or plasma water, gel water, easy water is Dr. Pollack's term. This is the structured, ordered, coherent. There's a lot of names for it because a lot of disciplines are looking at it now, and they're all coming into it with their own kind of combination of words. So we haven't have a term that we all landed on for this, and maybe we won't, because maybe it isn't necessary. Maybe what we're going to discover is water is so it comes in so many forms, which is the new suspicion. We've only been looking at three: water vapor and ice, liquid vapor and ice. Now we've really delved into this fourth phase, and it's gel-like or plasma-like state. And the interesting properties of water in this state that are not in the state of vapor and not in the state of liquid and not in the state of ice, they only take place in this state of water, is that this plasma or gel or structured like water, and the structure just comes, you might hear that term thrown around, but it just means the organization of the water molecules, how they're ordering themselves, how they get themselves in an organization and work with each other. These molecules working together come into certain structures, and many of them are extremely beautiful. They look like patterns that maybe look like the back of a tortoise shell, or they are pre-crystalline like snowflakes. What is interesting about that is those patterns, those shapes carry electrical impulses. This is where the real conductivity is happening in our physical form. It isn't just plants, desert plants, that have this kind of gel-like material. All living cells actually have this kind of plasma inside of them. And this is where the electrical impulses get, the conductivity happens. So those electrical impulses are happening there. And they happen, they do happen in liquid, but otherwise you wouldn't get electrocuted when you stand in a puddle with some live wire, but it's a much slower process. So this is like the superconductor state of water. And what is one of the jaw-dropping things that we didn't know is that water in this gel phase is not only transferring electricity, it's transferring information. And that's where the cell-to-cell signaling occurs. So if you're anybody who knows anything about fascia, then the conversation becomes wildly interesting, because fascia becomes this computer archive of stored experiences and information. And it isn't a kind of concept anymore. We can follow the chain of water molecules sharing electrons and see how that's actually happening. And even Deanna, I work with these world scientists, and when we have meetings, a lot of times these computer scientists show up because they want to figure out how they want to know more about water molecules, because they see that they're storing information and transferring information far more than silicon can. So there's this whole world of computer science that's looking at water molecules and how they do it, and how to get quantum, which of course we already are because we're amazing. It's so our bodies take the liquid form of water and they shift it into the plasma. That's the process that our physiology is always doing. It's still using liquid. It still has lots of liquid for things like, lymph flow and drainage and digestion, but much of the work goes to taking one phase of water, reorganizing the molecules and shifting it into the next stage so it can do a new kind of labor as well. And that kind of work happens right within our cells. And then that all connects up to make a superconducting network of information that gets passed around the body. We used to think it was the nerves. The nerves are information conductors, but they aren't the primary information conductors. The fascia is. This water system within the body is the superconducting highway of information, where cell-to-cell signaling gets its most refined and coherent messages back to each other. Okay, now that I've set all that up for you.
That is so fascinating.
That is a lot to hold, right?
That is a lot, but I just love it, because I was recently watching one of Greg Braden's videos, and in his book, The God Code, he goes into extensive detail about this, but essentially saying that on the surface membrane of every single one of our cells is the message God lives within. So I love this, because from the perspective of block therapy, what our goal is to connect with every single one of our trillions of cells. So, as we fall out of alignment and we become blocked through adhesions and scar tissue, the fascia is not able to connect and communicate with every one of our cells. So as we're blocking, we're releasing those adhesions, we're diving in deeper, and we're connecting with cells previously blocked to gain that information and to change our entire understanding and perception of life. So this is a fascinating conversation. Thank you so much for bringing this to us.
Oh, I'm so excited. And again, thank you for helping me spread this information. And as we listen to this, please think about, how am I going to spread this? How am I going to help other people really understand without getting all into this, the specific chain of electron sharing, and just, what are the simple ways? And that's really where I want to take this conversation. So we'll walk out of here with the ability to sort of help people, the idea that when we talk about blocks, you say, like in the Chi world, for example, Qigong, the conversation around blocks all have to do with, they just seem to be so ephemeral, like, oh, you have a block there. It seems like it's an emotional thing that we have to go through therapy to go get work on. It's totally true to say that emotional blocks are information held in the body, and probably your audience would be very alert or aware of that kind of thinking. And this just really helps us sort of seal that deal. So I want to get to this next part, which is how much we are made of water, because there's still, we're still thinking in fascial terms, we're thinking in organ terms, we're thinking in bone terms, we're thinking in the sort of body parts put together idea of the human body. And if I can just move you up to a new perception of this, it's going to make how you treat yourself and how you do treatments quite a bit different. So I know you've heard that there are different amounts of body, what percentage of some, there's some percentages, people that say we're 70% water totally, or that the brain is 80%, or that our lungs are actually 83%, the skin is 64%, muscles, kidneys, they all are different. It's like a turkey at Thanksgiving, where you stick it, wherever you stick the meat thermometer, and it's kind of a different, that's how it's kind of a different reading. That's how it is with water. We're still thinking of water as where you put the stick in and how high the meter goes. That's the amount of water. And what I want to do is just give you a baseline way to conceive of all this by just counting up the water molecules in our body. And there are so many water molecules in our body that by molecular count, we are 99% water. So just move all the, where I'm sticking in and what's a what, and let's just get to this baseline understanding. That means we can now actually rethink entirely what we are. So based on this new understanding of the water phases that I was talking about, ordered or structured water, at the extracellular matrix, we haven't even measured that because we don't even know how to measure that. And fascia, we can now really understand that we are not bodies or series of organs hanging on our skeleton, but we are liquid entities with stick-like bones stuck inside of us to help us walk on land. So we are truly water beings. We are complete water beings. We just haven't figured out how to really conceive ourselves that way. And in that concept, we have thought our way into or conceptualized. Now, here's the anthropologist in me speaking. We've thought our way into a very disturbing inertness. We don't really understand how truly fluid we are. And rediscovering our fluid home inside of us will change how we move about our day, our conception of ourselves, how we understand ourselves as far more mobile, physically, intellectually, metaphysically, radiating life through liquid motion. This is really how we've gotten so constrained, is not touching on this unbelievable experience of being a liquid being. So we've misunderstood ourselves as mammals, as land animals, determined by gravitational pull on our skeletons. And yes, that's true, but it's not the only factor. It may not even be the biggest factor now that we understand the role of electrons in our system and electricity and the passage of movement and flow through our systems. And if we spend all our attention on our gravitational pull, we're not going to activate all the other fluid capacities which we have and have been left dormant, or perhaps never even discovered about ourselves, maybe once we move out of toddlerhood. So understanding that we are liquid beings capable of immense responsitivity. I'm trying to find a way to say that. It's the opposite of reactivity. And it is exactly what we understand, the metaphor, when we hear someone tell us, be like water, flow like water. You know, whatever rocks come in your path, you just move around, or you just slowly wear down, or you're just on your flow, that you're able to move over everything, move through everything, take everything with you as some kind of a memory touch, and experience yourself in that way. And that leaves behind our experience of being brittle and fragile and defensive and needing to do the protective work. Like, we can move ourselves out of this defensive crunch that our culture trains us to think in: danger, survival, tax time, to activate actually a whole nother level of being in the world. So maybe I should just pause there for a minute, and kind of let some of that sink in, and see if you have any questions. And
well, just comments. Again, just really loving this conversation, because this is really the basis of block therapy. It is to make people more fluid within their body. It's all about the flow, being in that flow state. And we do take bodies from that contracted, brittle space, and we bring them into the space of having space between the cells so that the communication can happen. And that pulls out trauma, past memory. It actually restructures people's thinking. It's pretty amazing when you see how people have responded and changed in their body with this process. And it's exactly what you're talking about. So it's neat because, we approach the body from a very practical, hands-on perspective. And this is giving the people really the understanding of why we're getting the results that we're getting. And people are having the experiences that they're having with this process, because we don't see restriction. We see adhesions that simply are frozen, that need to be melted. And as we continue to melt with the process that we share with people, people become more fluid within their body. And I do see the body as basically a matrix, holding like a magnetic, beautiful matrix, holding our cells together so that we can move through life in this fluid way and respond uniquely to every moment and be present in every moment, as opposed to being stuck in the postural understanding of what those experiences led us to be, and could continue moving forward in that way. We want to release all of that and awaken to this fluid potential that we all do have. So you're just really confirming very strongly, what our process is doing. So it's very exciting, because for people to have that, really informed understanding, that gives you another reason to dive in and to continue with the process.
Well, you're eliciting a thought for me, which I really love to share, because, again, as an anthropologist, I'm deeply aware of longevity traditions around the world and what kind of practices they have. And of course, it's come forward sort of in the popular mind as the blue zones. But of course, every culture has its elders who display certain kinds of bodies. And so I could just sort of take a little tack on this whole conversation that I prepared for us. What I do want to land is that that aging And the way we think about aging in our culture as this, immutable disintegration that's going to happen to everybody, that's just aging, is a complete lie. It's aging. It's not what we think. It's dehydration is what is the ultimate spot of the problem spot. And we live in such a deeply dehydrating culture. As a modern person, there isn't anything around us which isn't calling for hits on our hydration level. So whether you're indoors, they're very dehydrating environments. I mean, we even call it drywall. That's the kind of, or carpeting, or all the pharmaceuticals we take, the processed foods that we eat, the way we travel with inside of cars or commute in planes. All of these aspects, and again, a super dehydrating element in our life is stress, which releases a whole cascade of chemicals which are highly dehydrating to our system. Our system has to do so much work with cortisol. You can't even imagine what the cortisol hydration quotient is. It's incredible. And then the cell phones and the screen time. These are electrical interactions we're having, and it's hard for people to understand this until they get that water is about electrical conductivity. Hydration is about that, and those interactions, those magnetic field interactions, have a big impact on our hydration. So we don't have any way to get out of dehydration unless we're really paying attention to it. And that's why we're so scrunched. That's why we look like we do. And if you look at us compared to other maybe tribal conditions, we look like a mess. I mean, they would come and get us and say, "Oh, let me help you."
Yeah. Gina, I have a question. So what do you, and you're starting to answer my question more, but how do you view just the human body to become more hydrated? Like, is there a specific practice? Is it consuming a certain type of gel substance? Is it doing movement? Is it being outdoors? Because you touched into that, saying like, when we're inside, it's very dehydrating. And right now in my apartment, it's extremely dry, and I can feel the hydration getting sucked out of my cells. It's pretty comical. And then I agree, like, it's so interesting because the combination of being hunched over in front of a computer and then just the EMFs coming from the computer, from the cell phone that we have on us almost 24/7. So you started answering the question there, but what other ways do you either teach or preach to become more hydrated?
Well, I can't wait to share those with you guys because they're really foundational. And and the way to get to that question, to really help blow it open for you, to help you understand it, is to I would just want to give you a couple definitions around fascia, so it helps sort of land it for you, and then you sort of know where to go from that. And I'm sure many of you here listening have lots of experience with fascia, and you know what it is. I just want to sort of bring an additional addendum of what fascia is, so it really helps. Because when I am in fascial conversations with people, I don't hear it put this way. And one of the most important things I want to land for you is that fascia is the hidden whole body delivery system for hydration. This is our true hydrating channel, is the fascia, not our digestive tract, and then sort of some weird, like, vague osmosis that happens afterwards, but that nobody can really, can't find on a machine, on a screen anywhere. But fascia is it. It is our whole body irrigation system, and it works like drip irrigation. And in order for you to see this, we're going to put a link in this so you guys can find this afterwards. There's a glorious French hand surgeon who had the brilliant idea to put a micro camera under the skin when he did a surgery, and he had tourniqueted. This was in the hand. He had tourniqueted it so that there wasn't any blood, and what we normally saw as red when we did put cameras under the skin, we suddenly saw this entire spider web system, which we had never seen before. It's called a View of the Living Fascia. That it's on YouTube. You can see a 25-second version of it, or you can see a 6-minute version of it, but go look at it, because the second you see this, you actually see the tubules carrying water droplets. And you're like, oh my God, I get it now. Fascia is the hidden irrigation system that does this, that brings the hydration to every single part of our system. Now, remember that this inner webbing that surrounds everything and holds us together, we are literally packaged by fascia. This is where we are the water being. And it is our intelligent sensing system. It's passing information. It's receiving information, constantly organizing information. Like, okay, let's do 5 pulses over here. Send, oh, wait, over, corner B needs this. I mean, everything about how we process and are and move as intelligent beings has to do with this data transfer that's going on through the fascial system. So it makes it very exciting to think about what fascia really is. So it's delivering not only water, but electrical impulses, which of course is also our fuel. We're run on electricity. We really are electrical beings. All of that conducted by water. Everybody knows water conducts electricity, right? This is really what's the story now. And these electrical impulses are organizing and synchronizing this cell-to-cell signaling. And that's perhaps the most important work of fascia that people were not realizing. Now, the final mind-blowing thing that I want to share, besides the fact that fascia is a hydration system, it's our energy fuel system, and it's our information system, it's not only delivering that water, it is made of water. So the whole frickin' structure is not only delivering the liquid water and the cell signaling, but it's actually made of this plasma-like, gel-like, stretching, tensile reaction, collapsing, pulling. That is water. It's water in this gel plasma, incredibly malleable material. So now you can begin to see that the bones are just floating in that gel plasma, that all our organs are just, we're not, the still thinking about fascia is that that your bones carry you, and then the stuff is kind of plastered onto you, held onto you like saran wrap, like your muscles are kind of, held onto you by the fascia. I want you to rethink that entirely now. It's the fascia first, right? And then our organs sit in that, and our bones sit in that. And that means you are a different quality of being than you thought. And that's why I want you to go and eat. You can look at the video that I suggested, or you could just pinch yourself and get that, oh my God, I thought that was muscle. Well, it kind of is, but it's really tissue completely made of cells. And every single cell is like a little Ziploc baggie full of water. And they're all pushing each other around and communicating. They're having a grand time in there. But anyway, that's how I want you to think about fascia. So now let's talk about what the role of movement, or what the role of hydration has to do with all this and how we get all that. So, we're coming from the standard discussion that it's 8 glasses a day. That's how you get hydrated. I want to get you way past that, because nature has many strategies to accomplish this, this shift from liquid into the plasma-like stage. And believe it or not, it begins, Quinn, you're going to love this, it begins with sunlight. Because who knew we were made to be in the sun? Like, that makes sense now, right? It makes sense because the sun does the electrical impulse work to shift our water inside of ourselves into this labor stage where now it's able to conduct all the signaling. So we're literally run by the sun.
This is just another big reason why I need to get out of Winnipeg during the winter.
Well, I'm going to give you some great strategies, right? Some great strategies. So because the human, dispersal means that many of us live in sunlight poor areas, which, by the way, is why humans were originally nomadic. They weren't chasing gazelles. They were chasing the sun. And of course, the gazelles were chasing the sun too, because mammals know what to do. So we have to understand the role of sunlight in our life. And therefore, if we understand it, we can prioritize it, and we can help ourselves realize we're not going to feel at our best or heal well or heal fast or actually achieve a new level of, what is it I'm trying to talk about? What's the new level it's not optimal performance, like as if we're athletes. It's optimal perception of everything that life has to offer us, and all the solutions and all the creative ideas. And to see yellow or to see purple and see how purple it really is. This is about the ability to receive the glory of life. Okay. So if you live in the North, you now can understand and activate all sorts of ways to use infrared in your light, because it's the infrared spectrum which is able to do the most work of turning on electrical impulses in your cell from the liquid phase to the gel phase. And all of that then runs how well your cells function. So I want to make a big case for, you can go on Amazon and buy a small ceramic lamp. Yeah, I think they're like $50, $70. They're not expensive. And you have a little 15-minute session while you're reading a book or while you're, scrolling your phone. Although I really, I'd love to help you recognize that, you want to have downtime away from that, because it's the opposite of sunlight. Okay. And the other really important way to get this electrical organization going in your cells is movement. And that's how we came together in this conversation, and I want to help people understand that when they hear movement, they hear exercise. I never use the word exercise. I know you guys are athletes, so you're going to be like, well, of course, but I'm trying to start with a menu for people who don't move very much or even are stuck in bed. I want to help them understand how little the movement has to be to start this energy charge, and then that grows. So if you are bedridden, even being able to just, I'm going to give you a couple simple, I want to explain why what matters so much. Maybe I'll just demonstrate it, and then the demonstration will show. If you drop your chin to your chest and you raise your head back up, and you just do that maybe two or three more times, what you have just accomplished in terms of you as a liquid being is a complete synovial flush down your entire spinal canal. Keyword, this is a canal, right? So when you start moving the liquid fluid, it's a ripple effect, and it goes out to your entire system. So we're not talking about moving muscles to get, that activity out. That's important too, and you're going to have to find your own levels for that. We're talking about very simple, as a water being. I want you to think about yourself as a seal, floating in the ocean and just flapping a little bit, or the way the whales move through this fluid dynamic. That fluid dynamic that you're witnessing of a whale moving through beautiful ocean is literally also happening inside of you. It's the same kind of fluid dynamics, and you're washing yourself with new electrical impulses. When you move, and I know you guys know this about, the generation of electrons through movement. And this is, when you move, you're literally changing the kind of and the quality of water inside of you by electrical transfer. You're changing the quality of the water inside of you and making the water inside of you more effective at conducting information, conducting health, conducting energy. So movement makes, I like to call it hydration. It's just like who in the hydration conversation is even having the idea that this as foundational as drinking, it's getting that movement, because that's the second half of the formula. So then in terms of how many glasses of water should I be drinking?
That's funny, because that's exactly, I'm like, so now what do you think?
Wait, what?
Only one glass?
It's first of all, 8 glasses a day is a prescription for I don't know who, because how tall are you, Quinn? How tall? I'm only 5'1".
100%.
We're in different environments. You're in Canada. I'm here in San Francisco. Our activity levels are different. Our growth stages in our life. So babies are one kind of water. Pregnant women are another kind of water. What we want to understand is, as liquid fluid beings, you want to start understanding when you're hydrated and what that feels like. And then you determine, not I got to guzzle 8 glasses a day to get to a determined end. It's I'm moving through my day as if I were a fish, and where am I going to seek some hydration spaces in my life. So one of the most important shifts I can help you, going back to my desert research and using food to hydrate instead of liquid, is unbelievably smart strategy. So now we'll just talk about the fact that an apple we know it has water in there, right? It's probably 86% water. So first of all, that's a water bottle that nature has provided. So that apple not only is 86% water, but it's organized by nature that when you eat an apple, you're bringing in all the fibers, plus all, of course, the nutrition that right on that moment of eating it, that the fiber allows that water then to time release. So you've got a different system than guzzling liquid. And that system is really powerful, and it hydrates us beautifully as nature intended. And in addition, that apple, because of its contact with sunlight and with minerals in the ground, has a whole new level of it's at a state you're getting that water. Okay, I'm going to say it upstream, where it's already been electrified, and that bottle of water that is not in that state at all. In fact, if you drink that bottle of water, now your body's got to go and do all the work to change it into this state that you would have gotten out of the apple if you'd just eaten the apple. So I'm very firm in being able to say that an apple is more hydrating than a bottle of water. Now, does that mean that I'm going to run you out and say, no liquid in your life, you don't need those? That's not true. You need a partnership there. But it's so smart to partner a bottle of water with an apple, because now you've got complete different quality of electrical exchange going on in that system. So eating a plant added or a plant high diet turns out to be really important for the hydration chain. So any way you can add fresh food into your life, whether you're drinking smoothies or I always have a smoothie every day, because I get a volume of nutrition in there that's amazing. And then I know my hydrating is going to be extended if a smoothie versus a bottle of water or 2 bottles of water. We're talking like extending my hydration by 2/3. So very powerful. I'm also super fond of chia seeds. Chia seeds are one of the desert plants that I discovered in my research, and the Tarahumara who used them in the Sierra Nevada, is that the right place? I can't think right now. Doesn't matter. Chia seeds are way more widespread than they were when I started to study them. And I'm so happy, because in terms of a powerful hydrating food, and here's a great little trick about chia seed. I usually make it as a pudding, which means I just take a can of coconut milk and 5 tablespoons of chia seed, and I mix it so it doesn't get lumpy. I may dress it with some maple syrup or some honey, or just some jam, or eat it straight up plain. And I usually have a little bit of that in the evening, because then I'm extremely well hydrated, but I don't have to get up and pee at night, because my liquid system is different. It's being very slowly released over time.
Brilliant. Mm-hmm.
So these are great strategies, especially for our elders who are maybe struggling with those sorts of issues. But if you're peeing more than every couple of hours, you're overhydrating, and that's a new conversation that we've had to have. Most of the people come with the underhydrated conversation, but other ways of knowing you're well hydrated is, well, are you crabby? Are things irritating you? Because if you're well hydrated, you're buoyant, and your system can just float over those things. They just don't, they don't impact us in the same way. So that's what I mean by checking into how you feel about your hydration, giving you some strategies like knowing you have to move. You move in small things if you can't move in large ways. I love Qigong and Tai Chi. I literally do it while I'm on my cell phone. I'm like in motion, because it's a privilege to move. It's a joy to move. And we cast that whole movement concept into the exercise task that we have to check off without recognizing it. Just nodding your head is fun. Okay.
I love that. I have a question because I'm sure many of our viewers are wondering this question. So, what are let's say the top 3 foods, fruits, vegetables, chia seeds that you would recommend? Not necessarily like this is like on a hierarchy scale,
right?
But what are the top 3 foods that you would recommend for us, for viewers to start adding in for optimal hydration?
Okay, great question. Now I'm going to take it to sort of a way that gives you a menu, right? Instead of like, oh, I got to go to the store and buy the watermelon. I got to go to the store and buy the cucumber. All vegetables are 86, 87, 90% water. Okay, so there's some variations, and I could get you to a cucumber versus a bell pepper, but come on. We're talking about volumes of electrified, purified, nutriized. Well, I don't know if that's a word, but you know what I mean. It's all there, packaged by nature. It's glorious. A salad or any leafy green is 92 to 96% water. So a salad is literally more hydrating than a bottle of water. So I'm just trying to hand you this, like all fruits and vegetables are 86% or above. So anywhere you go and you look around those produce aisles, you are looking at, I like to say water isn't only blue, it's green. All of that is water. We are not in a water scarcity environment. We just didn't know how to think of water and where to find it. So getting yourself into a mushrooms. Oh my gosh. Mushrooms are like the secret hydration system in the soil. Mycelium and fascia look exactly the same. If you get a close-up of them, you're not sure which one is which, but it's the same system because it's smart, it's intelligent. This is how nature does it. She doesn't do it on a grid. She does it on a spider network, and she just loves the unexpected connections and how things come together. And really, we can really rest in this. We're so much more intelligent and worthy of our own attention and enjoyment than we think we are, because we're too busy thinking of ourselves as breaking down instead of, just get that hydration up.
That's super cool. And would you recommend that we would eat the vegetables raw, steamed, slightly cooked?
Yes.
Just eat them. Just get them in your body.
Bring them in.
Beautiful.
Bring them in. They love you. And I hope I can just share one more part of this, which I spoke about the mushrooms. And bring it in, whether you saute it, whether you eat it raw. Those things are made of water, right? I was saying how like a celery stick is obviously made of water. What we're missing is that that water is full of information. It's full of celery information. That celery has so much information to deliver to our system. So if you think about it now as an information exchange and you go, I want a big variety of information coming in. So when I talk about mushrooms, one of the things about mushrooms that is so important is that it's not a food we have been eating a lot in our culture for a long time. You know, mushrooms aren't part of our day like they would be in the East Asian culture, for example, or the Asian traditions. And if you think now, okay, what information, that mushroom is bringing in all this soil information, this astounding network of tree information, tree roots, everything is in that mushroom as a super conducted, super stored set of information that when we eat that mushroom, there's a whole nother level of ways in which we're communicating and connecting with nature, and it's supporting us and loving us. So why do you want plants in your life? Even house plants. Going out into nature, what does that mean? When we walk out, why do we feel better? You're getting bombarded with information from all of those species. The trees are bombarding you with, they're really singing their song to you. That's a great way to put it. They really are. And we really are receiving electromagnetic, invisible information, which all conspires to love us because we are part of the story of nature. And they all want to help us.
That's a really good point, because going out for a walk in nature, some people could think linearly, oh, I'm just moving, so that's why I'm feeling better. But then if I were to walk on a treadmill, the same duration, the same distance compared to me going outside and doing the same walk, why do I feel more calm? Why has a lot of my anxieties lifted? Why am I happier when I do a nature walk or a nature hike compared to just being on a treadmill or a stationary bike? So you kind of answered my question there too. We need to be out in nature.
Isn't
we
it
need
fun?
that information. It is 100%. And like, I've brought in probably 5 times the amount of fruits and vegetables into my life within the past year, 6 months to a year, because I used to be heavy into more like oats, meat, and vegetables, but I wouldn't eat that much fruit. And now all I eat is fruits and vegetables. And Deanna and I just got off of a medical medium cleanse, like the 369 cleanse, which was pretty powerful. But it was interesting because he only said have about like 4 cups of water throughout the day, because to help flush out the toxins, but it's really like the celery juice, it's the cucumber, it's the apples. I still eat like 5 apples a day. It's hilarious. I eat like multiple oranges a day, and I feel way more hydrated. Like I drink a lot less water now, because when I was way more into the bodybuilding industry, I was I was drinking a ridiculous amount of water. Before a competition, I was drinking 10 to 12 liters of water a day. And I was going to the washroom way too frequently, but I'm not hydrating myself properly. So I have one other question. So, and I probably have the answer to it, but just to clarify. So we were talking about the 3 states of water: liquid, vapor, ice, and then the 4th state can be like the gel-like substance. So is that what the body does? Does the body turn it into the gel-like substance? Or can we find it in its like natural form and ingest it?
I love, because every answer you ask me is a yes answer. Yes. So you are ingesting it when you're eating fruits and vegetables. That water is already in and I want to say the gel, like I want to help you realize this is a spectrum. So the electrical transfer or electron sharing of water starts about 10%. It looks like water, but it's only about 10% more viscous or thick, but it's just starting to concentrate. And then it can share and get denser and more concentrated until it looks like something like bone broth, where you actually have the collagen looking like that. It can, now the thinking is, I hope this doesn't blow your mind, that the concentration continues until you get even something like bone structure. So we really are made of water. We just aren't used to we think of it as liquid, and yet it can be as dense as cartilage. We definitely know that. And then maybe onto the bone structure. All muscles, all tissues. So if you just rethink yourself as a tissue being made of various forms of density of water, this is how I'm trying to help you think about yourself. And then how do you feed that kind of a being? Bringing in more of that gel-like water is very straightforward. So I've talked about fruits and vegetables. If you do drink, coffee, tea, any of the liquid ingestments that you're making, add to your hydration. It doesn't have to be just straight up water. But if you are drinking just water, I really recommend that you add a little bit of sea salt, rock salt, a natural salt, just a pinch to your water, because that salt and water then start this electrical exchange. So now you are drinking a different kind of water. So if I can just be really blunt about this, don't ever drink a naked glass of water again. Do something to it. Squeeze a lemon in it. Throw some salt in it. Swirl it with a celery stick. Whatever, you want to get that conversation going. And then that electrical chain going, because the way we treat water out of our tap and the way we get water from the bottled water industry means that all that electricity is basically just left, and we need to re-electrify it.
What's your thoughts on natural spring water?
Oh, love it. I mean,
Okay.
nature, thank you, nature.
Yeah.
What has it done? I mean, the way that the electricity gets shared, one of the ways is mineral contact. So, of course, right? Like the battery, water touches a mineral. It's like, hi, let's, what you doing? I have more energy. What do you want?
So if you're drinking like local spring water, which Quinn and I both do,
yes.
Is it as necessary to add something to that, or
No,
is that water a little different then?
It's not necessary, but it's fun.
But does the spring water, it's electrified differently?
It is electrified. It is electrified. And then, our job is to think in terms of, how can we add a little bit more? So, a spring water life or coffee or tea made out of spring water, all of that matters. All of those things matter. If you're using spring water in your smoothie now, all the plant material and the spring water, you're out there playing now that you have these concepts. It's a lot more fun, and you have a lot more vitality. And I really, and I do want to return to the conversation around movement. And because, you think about these little Ziploc bags that are cell full of water, as we're massaging those, that piezoelectricity is starting too. So you are making your water more electrified by movement and massage. And of course, in the Qigong tradition or Asian traditions, they were massaging themselves all day long. They would be, it's just part of the story of how you live your life, moving your shoulders back. And also, I want to get to the conversation on block therapy, because I think it's really brilliant. I think the idea that we can move our fascia, we can use gravity to allow our fascia to lay over things or lay on things, is a way of healing it's an obvious release. It's a way of healing ourselves that we hadn't thought of before. And because we are so scrunched up as moderns, if we could just find ways and get help. And the fact that it's made of cedar, and that cedar itself has the information in it. This information doesn't go anywhere just because we cut a tree down. It's always in various forms. Material reality is present as information to us. And touching a cedar block, laying on a cedar block, finding places to put it, to partner with it. And you're basically doing a slow dance.
We use bamboo now. We were using cedar, but we wanted to preserve the cedar tree. So we're using bamboo now. Excellent. Grass, again, from nature, which of course is the key. Mm-hmm. And what's lovely, and what I just love about like this whole conversation around movement is, one of the things that also makes this unique is that you do it in bed. I'm not an athlete. I used to be an athlete in my younger years, and that's when I had pain and I had, I was riddled with injury and all of those things. I'm a lazy individual that has a very high capacity for a lot of strength, because I treat my body more in a restorative way. So when I'm blocking, I block in bed and I hang out on the block, and, the movements are really slow. And then I teach people the art of fluid isometrics as well, which is really and I'm constantly, doing that to my own body, massaging my own body. I mean, we're on meetings and I'll be like working on my chin, just having my hand flowing around. And so, again, you're just, it's so lovely. I'm so grateful that you came on and you shared all of your information, because it's just really hitting home with a different perspective on this whole topic that we also share in block therapy and fully agree with. And because we're seeing that, but to again, have a different perspective is really powerful. And, the conversation around the foods as well. I mean, Quinn and I have been really diving into this as well. And it's lovely. I mean, I don't eat like hard food anymore, hardly. It's the smoothies, and they're filling, and they're satisfying, and they're lovely. And you do feel completely different when you feed your body with those beautiful nutrients, and you do feel hydrated without having to drink a lot of water. So I love that. And we do, of course, have the spring water. So I think, Quinn, we're doing a lot of the right things.
I think you are. And it shows. It really does.
We've improved significantly in the past 6 months to a year. So
awesome. Well, two more thoughts. One on why blending and making smoothies is a brilliant modern strategy to counter effect the modern dehydrating environment we live in, because you are putting in so much volume of fresh food in that smoothie. You would never be able to chew through that.
Right. Yeah.
You just aren't going to get to that volume of health, vitality, and information without.
And then all of
blender.
the different things you can put in one to get all those different informations inside you. Yeah.
Right. So as an anthropologist, I really recommend blending because it is a modern strategy to counteract the effects of the other modern things in our life. And it's a very smart strategy. And it doesn't mean that's all you eat. You just add it. Just add it to whatever else you're doing. I don't want to hear about, if you're eating a pizza, for heaven's sakes, somewhere, have a salad with that. Eat an apple afterwards. You're doing compensatory thinking now that you know what a fluid being you are. So you're not trying to get to the one diet and the right amount of water. You're trying to be like, I can flow through anything. Man, I'm going to have my son's retirement party, and he wants to serve steak. I'm definitely enjoying that with him. And then and I may have a champagne too. Maybe too. And I'm going to compensate for that because I now recognize I'm living this very fluid life, and the call and response. And then one more thought on the block, which I think is really important to mention, is because you are a fluid being, you're a 360, you're a three-dimensional being. We're not getting that fluid movement to certain parts of our body. And you really want to, the best way to say this is we need novel movement in your life. You need to find places you don't normally move and get some movement in there, or get some touch in there, put the block there, so that you get fluid back into that place in your body. Because it's like brushing your teeth. You can just brush the front of your teeth, but that isn't going to help the problem. Right. You really want to get yourself into as much fluid movement as you can. And so the goal as a fluid being is not how many miles have I run. It's how well have I moved my body through its day. And that's really the trick there. And that's why I really love these modern strategies like blenders and blocks that just allow us to get to places we can't without a little assistance.
Exactly. Oh, Gina, thank you so much.
Yeah. This has been a long conversation.
No, it's been a fantastic conversation. Our viewers are going to absolutely love this. Everyone's going to be out buying blenders and and that's a great thing. So we will put all of your information below so people can find you. Thank you. I'm so delighted. And thank you again, everyone, for helping me spread this information on what fluid beings we truly are. One of my big projects is also to help rehydrate not only us, but our planet. So we work on getting this more specialized water that we've talked about today into our agriculture, so we can actually be rehydrating our soils and growing better food. So we have a program called Rehydrate Mother Earth. If you want to come and join us in Earth Restoration, that's all on our website. www. Do people even say that anymore? Hydration Foundation. hydrationfoundation.org. And I have tons of recipes, science information, a lot of stuff in there, that can help you. All public service. Glad to do that for all of us. Thank you so much, Gina. All right. And Quinn, any last comments before we end? I have more questions, but I'm not going to ask them now. And maybe we'll just have to have you on again. But I love that. But this has been a brilliant conversation. Love it. And so all of Gina's information will be below in the description. And thank you so much. If you enjoyed it, give the video a thumbs up, subscribe to the YouTube channel. If you have any questions or comments, leave them below, and stay tuned for more information coming out. Wonderful. Thanks, everyone. Thank you, Gina. Water blessings.